I'm about to tell you, as a woman, the 4 psychological traits that quietly hijack a woman's brain and make her seconds unable to stop thinking about you. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most men do the exact opposite of these traits, seconds, which is precisely why most men get ignored. The 4th trait on this list is the one that women will never ever, seconds, openly admit triggers them, but it does every single time. So here's something that might sting a little. A study, seconds, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, found that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear to them more than men who, seconds, clearly like them, and more than men who clearly didn't. Read that again. Seconds, women were most drawn to the guys they couldn't quite figure out. Not the ones who showered them with attention, not the cold, distant ones either. The ones, seconds, who kept them guessing. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, "Oh, great, another video telling me to play games," hold on. That is not what this is about. Minute, what I'm about to break down for you are not tricks, not manipulation tactics. Minute, seconds, and not some pickup artist nonsense from these are actual psychological traits rooted in behavioral science. Minute, seconds, evolutionary psychology that fundamentally change the way a woman perceives you. And I'm telling you this as a woman who has felt these shifts minute, seconds firsthand. I've been in conversations with men who had none of these traits, minute, seconds, and I felt nothing. Zero. And I've met men who weren't even traditionally attractive, but something about the way they carried themselves made my brain go minute, seconds, haywire. I couldn't explain it at the time. Now I can. Here's what most guys get wrong. They think attraction is about saying the right thing, wearing minute seconds the right clothes, or having the right jawline. And sure, those things don't hurt, but attraction, real deep, minute seconds, can't stop thinking about him. Attraction is triggered by psychological patterns, minute seconds patterns that bypass logic entirely. A woman doesn't choose to chase a man, minute seconds, something in her psychology compels her to, and the men who naturally have these 4 traits, they don't chase women. Minutes, seconds, women chase them consistently, almost predictably. And the wildest part, these traits aren't genetic. You're not born with them or without them. They are minutes, seconds developed, which means by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what switches to flip inside yourself. Minutes, seconds, but I need to warn you about something first. And this is important. If you only half learn these traits, if you treat minutes, seconds them like surface-level hacks, they will backfire badly. A woman can sense inauthenticity faster than you can. Minutes, seconds, blink. So pay close attention because I'm going to explain not just what these traits are, but why they work at a neurological level and how to actually embody them without faking anything. Minutes, seconds, let's get into the first one. And honestly, this one alone will change the way women respond to you overnight. Minutes, seconds, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, minutes, seconds, that repels a woman faster than a man who needs her to feel okay about himself. And there is almost nothing more magnetically attractive than a man who is emotionally complete on his own. Minutes, seconds. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but let me explain the psychology behind it. Dr. Robert Glover, the author of No More Mr. Minutes, Seconds Nice Guy, calls this the nice guy syndrome. The pattern where men unconsciously seek validation, approval, minutes, seconds, and emotional stability from the women they're attracted to. They text too much, they overcompliment, they agree minutes, seconds with everything she says, they mold their personality around her preferences. And they genuinely believe they're being loving and attentive. But minutes, seconds, here's what's actually happening inside her brain. When a man behaves this way, minutes, seconds, a woman's subconscious reads it as a threat signal, not a physical threat, a survival threat. Evolutionary psychologists argue that women evolve minutes, seconds to seek partners who demonstrate emotional resilience, because for thousands of years, a woman's survival and the survival of her children, minutes. Seconds depended on being with a man who could remain stable under pressure. A man who crumbles emotionally when she pulls back, when she doesn't text back fast, minutes, seconds enough, when she talks to another guy at a party, that man signals weakness to her like system. Not because his minutes, seconds actually weak, but because her ancient brain is running software that's thousands of years old. So what does emotional self-sufficiency actually look minutes, seconds like in practice? It looks like a man who has a rich internal world. He has hobbies he genuinely cares about. He has minutes, seconds, friendships that fulfill him. He has goals that excite him independent of any relationship. When he's with a woman, minutes, seconds, he's present and engaged. But when she's not around, his world doesn't collapse. Minutes, seconds, his happiness is not contingent on her response time. I once went on a date with a guy who halfway through dinner got a text and smiled. I asked him what minutes, seconds it was about, and he said his buddy just sent him a photo from a hiking trip they'd planned for the following month. Minutes, seconds. He started talking about this trail with so much genuine excitement. His eyes lit up, his whole energy shifted, and in that moment, something clicked inside me. I realized this man had a full life. Minutes, seconds. I was an addition to it, not the foundation of it. And that single realization made me want to be part of his world, times more than if he had minutes, seconds spent the entire dinner telling me how amazing I was. Here's the contrast. Minutes, seconds. Another guy I dated would text me, "Good morning," every single day. And if I didn't respond within an hour, he'd follow up with, "Everything okay?" By minutes, seconds, week 2, I felt suffocated. Not because he was a bad person, he was genuinely sweet, but because his emotional minutes, seconds, well-being was clearly hanging on my responses. And that pressure, even when unspoken, is something every woman can minutes, seconds feel. The takeaway, stop trying to be her source of happiness. Become your own source first. When your emotional cup is minutes, seconds already full, a woman doesn't feel pressure to fill it. And paradoxically, minutes, seconds, that's when she wants to pour into it the most. Now, trait number 2 builds directly on this, and it's the one that creates what psychologists call minutes, second, intrusive thinking. That's the clinical term for when someone can't get you out of their head. And yes, there's a specific trait that triggers it. The human brain is a prediction machine. Minutes, seconds. Neuroscientist Dr. Carl Friston's research on the free energy principle shows that our brains are constantly trying to predict what will happen next. Minutes, seconds, and when something breaks our prediction, when reality doesn't match what we expected, our brain releases a spike of dopamine and assigns heightened minutes. Seconds, attention to that stimulus. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive, that makes plot twists in movies so satisfying, and here's the minutes, seconds key that makes certain men absolutely unforgettable to women. Most men are painfully predictable. They follow the same script every time, compliment her minutes, seconds appearance, ask about her day, agree with her opinions, text at the same times, escalate at the same pace. And minutes, seconds, because a woman's brain can predict every next move, there's no dopamine spike, no heightened attention, no intrusive thinking. She knows exactly minutes, seconds, what she's going to get. And knowing exactly what you're going to get is the clinical definition of boredom. Now, minutes, seconds calibrated, unpredictability is not about being chaotic or unreliable. That's a crucial distinction. An unreliable man, minutes, seconds triggers anxiety and distrust. An unpredictable man triggers curiosity and excitement. The difference is emotional safety. She needs to feel safe with you, minutes, seconds, but surprised by you. Safe in the sense that she trusts your character. Minutes, seconds, surprised in the sense that she can never quite predict your next move. What does this look like? It looks like a man who's warm and attentive one evening, and minutes, seconds, then genuinely busy and slightly unavailable the next day. Not because he's playing games, but because he actually has things going on. It looks minutes, seconds, like a man who instead of saying, "You look beautiful," like every other guy says something weirdly specific and genuine, minutes. Seconds, like the way you just explained that thing about your job that was genuinely impressive. Most people can't articulate what they do that clearly. It's minutes, seconds, unexpected. It's specific and it breaks her prediction pattern. I'll tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this. A friend of mine was dating two guys at minutes, seconds the same time. Don't judge. It was early stages. Guy A was consistent. Sweet morning texts, planned dates every minute, seconds Friday. Always told her she was gorgeous. Guy B was different. Some days he'd send her a voice note that was just him laughing about something funny. That minutes, seconds happened at work. Other days he'd go quiet for a full day, then show up with a random recommendation for a documentary he thought she'd like, based minutes, seconds on a conversation they'd had 2 weeks ago. He remembered things she'd forgotten, she'd even said. Guess which one she couldn't stop thinking about? Minutes, seconds. Guy B, and it wasn't because Guy A was doing anything wrong. He was doing everything right by conventional standards. But Guy B's unpredictability created a cognitive itch in her brain. Minutes, seconds. She was constantly wondering what he'd do next. And that wondering, that's attraction. That's the brain assigning significance to someone because it can't minutes, seconds file them into a neat, predictable category. A study from the University of Virginia and Harvard confirmed this. Women who were told that minutes, seconds, a group of men might or might not like them thought about those men significantly more than women who were told the men definitely liked them. Minutes, seconds, uncertainty, when paired with positive emotional signals, creates obsession. So, minutes, seconds, here's the principle. Be consistent in your character. Be unpredictable in your behavior. She should always know your minutes, seconds, a good man. She should never quite know what you're going to do next. And that feeds directly into the third trait. Minutes, seconds, which honestly might be the most counterintuitive one on this list. Most men think vulnerability is weakness. And I get why. Society has spent centuries, minutes, seconds telling men to toughen up, hide their feelings, be stoic, be a rock. And so most men operate on one of two extremes. Minutes, seconds. Either they're emotionally closed off or they trauma dump on the first date. Neither works. But right in the middle, minutes, seconds. There's a sweet spot that is devastatingly attractive. Psychologist Dr. Binnie Brown calls it vulnerable courage. The willingness to share minutes, seconds, something real about yourself from a place of strength, not from a place of needing to be rescued. Here's why this works on a psychological level. When a minute, seconds man who is clearly strong, clearly capable, clearly confident, chooses to let a woman see something imperfect, minutes, seconds about himself, her brain interprets it as a massive trust signal. He's not weak, he's choosing to let his guard down with her specifically. And that minutes, seconds distinction makes her feel special. It makes her feel chosen. It activates what psychologists call reciprocal minutes, seconds, self-disclosure. The innate human tendency to open up to someone who has opened up to you. Suddenly, she's sharing things with you she doesn't minutes, seconds share with other people. And that emotional intimacy, that's the foundation of the kind of attraction that doesn't fade after 3 dates. But minutes, seconds, here's where men mess this up. They confuse vulnerability with emotional dumping. There's a difference between saying, I went through a tough time a minute, seconds, few years ago when my business failed, and it taught me a lot about who I actually am, and saying, I'm so broken, nobody understands me, I haven't been happy in years. Minutes, seconds. The first one is a man who has processed his pain and grown from it. The second one is a man who is asking you to carry his emotional baggage. One is magnetic. Minutes, seconds. The other is draining. I remember sitting across from a man at a coffee shop. He was confident, funny, clearly had his life together. And at one point in the conversation, he paused and said, minutes, seconds. You know, I used to be terrified of being alone, like genuinely scared of it. It took me a long time to realize that fear was actually running most of minutes, seconds, my decisions, who I dated, why I stayed in bad relationships, everything. He said it calmly, almost casually, No self-pity, no looking for a reaction, minutes, seconds, just honest. And in that moment, I felt something shift. I went from thinking, minutes, seconds, this is a cool guy, to feeling, I trust this man. That shift from cool to trusted is where real attraction lives. Minutes, seconds, because any man can be cool for an evening. But a man you trust with your emotions, that's a man you chase. The minutes, seconds research backs this up heavily. A study in the journal Personal Relationships found that self-disclosure, the act of minutes, seconds, revealing personal information, is one of the strongest predictors of relationship formation and deepening attraction. But the key variable was how minutes, seconds, the disclosure was delivered. When it came from a place of emotional stability, it increased attraction. When it came from emotional instability, it increased attraction. Minutes, seconds decreased it. So the formula is straightforward. Be strong enough that your vulnerability is a choice, not a collapse. When you share something real, minutes, seconds, share it like a man who has already made peace with it. That combination, minutes, seconds, strength plus openness, is psychological catnip for women. Now, the fourth and final trait. I saved this one for last minute, second, because it's the one women will rarely tell you about directly. Some women don't even consciously recognize it. But minutes, seconds, every woman responds to it. Every single one. This is the trait that separates men women date from men women obsess over. And it has nothing to do with minutes, seconds, money, status, or success. It's about trajectory. It's about a man who is clearly going somewhere, who has a direction in life that he's moving minutes, seconds toward with genuine conviction, and who will not abandon that direction for anyone, not even for her. Evolutionary minutes, seconds. Psychologist Dr. David Boos, in his landmark research on mate selection, found that women across different minutes, seconds cultures consistently ranked ambition and industriousness among the most attractive traits in a long-term partner, often ranking it higher than minutes, seconds, physical attractiveness, not wealth, not current achievement, ambition, the drive itself, the forward motion, and here's the psychological mechanism behind it. Minutes, seconds. When a man has a clear purpose, a business he's building, a craft he's mastering, a goal he's relentlessly minutes, seconds pursuing, he radiates what psychologists call intrinsic motivation. He's not doing it for approval. He's not doing it minutes, seconds to impress anyone. He's doing it because something inside him demands it. And that internal fire creates a gravitational pull that women find minutes, seconds almost impossible to resist. But here's the part nobody talks about. The reason this trait is so powerful isn't just minutes, seconds, because ambition is attractive. It's because a man with a mission does something that drives women crazy. He makes her compete for his attention. Not minutes, seconds, intentionally, not manipulatively, but naturally, because his time is genuinely limited. His focus is genuinely divided. Minutes, seconds. And when he does give her his attention, minutes, seconds, it means something. It has weight. It has value. Because she knows he chose to be with her instead of working on the minutes, seconds thing he cares most about. Compare that to a man who has nothing going on. He's available all the time. He responds minutes, seconds, instantly. He has no competing priorities. His attention has no scarcity and therefore no value. A woman minutes, seconds doesn't have to earn it, which means she doesn't appreciate. I knew a guy who was building a small furniture business out of his garage. He wasn't rich. Minutes, seconds, wasn't famous. He drove a beat-up truck and his hands were always covered in sawdust. But when he talked about the piece he was working on, the way the minutes, seconds grain of the wood curved, the joint technique he was trying to master, there was something in his eyes that was magnetic. He wasn't performing passion minutes, seconds for anyone. He was living it. And every woman in our friend group noticed, not because of what he had, but because of how he moved through the world. He had a direction, and people, especially women, minutes, seconds, are naturally drawn to someone who knows where they're going. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Mihaly, and yes, I practiced that name 6 times before minutes, seconds recording, describe the state called flow, where a person is so absorbed in a meaningful activity that they lose track, minutes, seconds of time. Men who regularly enter flow states in pursuit of their goals carry a different energy. They're less reactive, minutes, seconds needy, less anxious. And women pick up on that energy immediately, even if they can't articulate why. So here's the truth that most men don't want to minutes, seconds hear. The most attractive thing you can do for your dating life has nothing to do with dating. It's about finding your mission, committing to it fully, and minutes, seconds, letting that commitment shape who you are. When you do that, you stop chasing women, not as a strategy, but as a minutes, seconds, natural byproduct of being focused on something bigger. And the moment you stop chasing, that's when they start chasing you. It's one of the most minutes, seconds, beautifully ironic dynamics in human psychology. So let's bring all of this together. 4 traits. Emotional minutes, seconds, self-sufficiency, where your happiness isn't outsourced to her reactions. Minutes, seconds, calibrated unpredictability, where you're safe but never boring. Confident vulnerability, where your strength makes minutes, seconds, your openness feel like a gift, not a burden. And directional gravity, where your mission gives your attention real minutes, seconds value. These 4 traits don't just help with attraction, they fundamentally rewire the dynamic between you and every minutes, seconds woman you interact with. They shift you from being a man who pursues to being a man who attracts. And that shift changes minutes, seconds, everything. Not just in dating, but in how you carry yourself, how you make decisions, and how you show up in the world. Now, here's something I want you minutes, seconds to think about. Every trait I just described has one thing in common. Not a single one of them requires you to change who you are for someone else. Minutes, seconds, every single one of them requires you to become more of who you actually are. More self-sufficient, more authentic. Minutes, seconds, more purposeful, more real. That's not a dating strategy. That's a life philosophy. And the men who understand that, they never struggle with minutes, seconds attraction again. So here's what I want you to do. And no, I'm not going to beg you to smash a subscribe button like some kind of desperate salesman. Minutes, seconds. Instead, I want you to pick one of these 4 traits. Just one. The one that hit you the hardest while watching this. The one where you thought, yeah, that's the minutes, seconds one I've been getting wrong. And I want you to commit to working on that single trait for the next days. Not all 4, just one. Because here's what the minutes, seconds research shows. Changing one core behavioral pattern creates a cascade effect that naturally improves the others. You start becoming emotionally minutes, seconds, self-sufficient, and suddenly you're less predictable because you're actually busy living your life. You develop a mission, and suddenly vulnerability becomes minutes, seconds easier because your identity isn't wrapped up in her opinion of you. One domino tips the rest. And if that trait you chose is something you're already minutes, seconds working on, if you're already in the middle of becoming that better version of yourself, then there's something you absolutely need to watch next. Because minutes, seconds, there's a chance that shift you're making. A woman in your life has already noticed. She's already feeling something, but she's hiding it. And the minutes, second signs she's giving off are so subtle that most men miss them entirely. That's exactly what I break down in this next minutes, seconds video. This means she misses you too much, but she's hiding her true feelings. It's already on your screen, minutes, seconds right now. If you've ever wondered whether that one woman is thinking about you more than she's letting on, this video will tell you everything her behavior is secretly communicating. Minutes, seconds. Trust me, after what you just learned today, that video is going to hit completely differently. Go watch it right